Now, increasing interest rates are a problem for buy-to-let landlords. Look, if rates are jumping up and rent isn't, or certainly not at the same rate that mortgage rates and mortgage payments are jumping up, then that's going to create a problem because your margins are being squeezed, aren't they? Now, I'm going to drill down into some of the reasons for this and the solutions too. So if you want to check out the opportunities that are going to exist in 2023, hey, keep watching. Hi, my name's Kevin Wright and I talk about property finance because I've been brokering it for over 20 years. Everything from simple AST buy-to-lets right up to multi-million pound development loans. Now, you don't have to be a genius to work out that for the last couple of years, really since the lockdown in 2020 when COVID hit the world, it has been a pretty buoyant seller's market. Rampant seller's market, you might even say. And some estate agents have had the best years trading in their history in the last couple of years. Now, nothing lasts forever, and we're now starting to see a flip the other way from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Now, it's 40 years since I first invested in a property to make some money. And during that time, I've seen it oscillate between buyer, seller, buyer, seller, buyer, seller. And it's happened multiple times over that period. And hey, it's going to continue happening into the future as well. Prevailing circumstances precipitate a switch from one to the other, buyer to seller, seller to buyer. Look, we already had a seller's market prior to lockdown 1 in March 2020. But when we came out of lockdown 1 and things like the stamp duty holiday were introduced to buoy up the property market, and the incredible expansion of the work from home phenomenon boosted demand still further, you had all the makings of a rampant seller's market. Now, it's been tough for landlords to buy property during that time because they just kept getting outbid. Look, main residence buyers don't have to make a profit. They just want somewhere nice to live. So they're always going to outbid a landlord that's got to balance profitability between the mortgage cost and the rental income obtained. Now, the real trigger for moving away from this rampant seller's market to something at least less frothy, if not a rampant buyer's market, has been the rise in inflation. Inflation at the end of 2022 is at a 40-year high, and while mortgage rates are not at a 40-year high or even anything close to it, they are a whole lot higher than we've been used to for the last decade or more. Now, a couple of indicators of this change that we've seen in recent weeks are Zoopla reporting a drop in visits to their site. Now, that's been a drop of something up to a third, which is a substantial drop in interest on people just looking to buy a property or looking to see what properties are for sale currently. And the other indicator is people reporting that estate agents have been jumping on the phones, checking out with people that they were talking to earlier in 2022 to see if they're still in the market for buying a property. So clearly they're now not as busy as they were earlier in 2022 and stretching back another year or two. So will it become a buyer's market? Well, that's not really the question. I think that's a given. It's going to become a buyer's market. The question is, how extreme a buyer's market is it going to be? Is it going to be a full pendulum swing back from as rampant a seller's market that it's been for the last couple of years, right the way back to as strong a buyer's market? Now, that remains to be seen. So what we've got ahead is both a challenge, but also an opportunity. How is it a challenge? Let's drill down. Now, for buy-to-let landlords, these increasing interest rates are going to be a problem. They're going to squeeze their margin and mean they earn less out of each property they own that they rent out to a tenant. Now, if you're on a fixed rate and it's got a year, possibly 2 years still left to run, then you're protected from that because your margin is still built in and it's cooked in until that fixed rate ends. But if your mortgage deal is coming to an end, you've got to renegotiate that deal, then there's going to be a bit of pain involved in that process, unfortunately.
Hey, have you subscribed yet? Click that subscribe button down there and that dingy belly thing so you don't miss any of my videos when they're released, which is every week. Great, thanks. I almost forgot, Instagram. Click that button too. Look, it's down there. Thanks.
So I think clearly at the moment, look, if you don't need to remortgage, just stick with what you've got and just ride the wave and see where it is, where you come out in a year or two's time. It's probably going to be a bit better than it is right now. But if you do have to remortgage, it's it's probably not the best time to jump into a fixed rate deal, and certainly not a 5-year fixed rate deal. You could look at a tracker and just tread water for a year or two, or even just to stay in a variable rate. Obviously your broker will work out based on your circumstances what's the most appropriate type of deal to go for right now. So if you can't batten down the hatches and rely on your fixed rate to see you through until we get to some calmer waters, then it's a case of battening down your hatches, taking a hit on your profits and just riding it out. Now, we've all been seeing the Bank of England raising interest rates over the last few months. And, that's the time-honoured response to rising inflation. Increasing interest rates has been shown to choke off inflation. So that's the strategy the Bank of England is engaged in now. And I don't think we've reached the top of the hill yet. I mean, that will peak probably sometime in early to mid 2023, as it looks like going now. Of course, that's a prediction, and predictions can often be wide of the mark. Now, when inflation comes under control, the economy will need to be stimulated. And the way to stimulate the economy is to reduce interest rates. So the unknown factor is whether that's going to be at the back end of 2023, into 2024, or possibly even into 2025. So if the challenge is just getting by until conditions are more favourable, what's the opportunity? Well, the opportunity is to pick up more properties. So properties are going to be available at lower prices. If there's less buyers around, sellers can't jack up the price like they've been used to doing in the last couple of years. So properties are going to have to be more modestly priced. And for the problem properties, i.e. the unmortgageable ones, the cash buyer only ones, there's going to be even less demand for them, you would think, than there's been in the past 2 or 3 years. And it's these problem properties that you're going to be able to buy even cheaper going forward is where the opportunity lies. So if you're watching this and you've done any sort of training with me, you know that I talk a lot about buying problem properties, either with cash or with bridging finance if you haven't got cash. And this type of buying is going to come into its own during this period. Now, the really cool thing with bridging is that they get their money from different sources. So actually, whilst mortgage rates have been escalating, from typically 2 to typically 6%, bridging rates are virtually unchanged. So the people that can buy properties using bridging finance where there's a problem that they know how to fix can do so comparatively cheaper than they've been able to do at any time in the last decade compared to what people are having to pay for mortgages. So on that basis, bridging has never been so cheap in comparison with what mortgages are as it is right now. So I think it's going to be substantial opportunities to pick up problem properties and just help people move on with their lives, where this problem property, is a log jam in their life. In fact, some of my students began earlier in the year pulling cash out of their properties, refinancing while rates were low onto good rated 5-year fixed rate mortgages. And they've now got a pile of cash, in varying amounts of course, but they've got a pile of cash waiting to go into property deals over the next 12 to 24 months. But look, if you didn't have that foresight, the opportunity to buy good value properties is still going to be around in the next 12 to 24 months. Common sense, which some people have said isn't that common, but common sense is going to come to the fore. Stress testing needs to be a bit more robust than it's been in the past. Now again, more savvy investors have been stress testing their portfolio. Why? So that it still works even if rates rose to 6%, and they're pretty much at that now. Possibly less experienced or less worldly wise didn't do that. Well, when you get rates at 2%, 2 to 2.5%, it probably didn't seem the need to do that. But it's the investors whose portfolio only works if they're paying 3 to 4% mortgage rates that are going to be struggling going forward for the next year or two until it all comes back into line. Now, I do like a Warren Buffett quote. You may have seen me quote him before. And, one of his quotes is, it's only when the tide goes out that you see who's been swimming naked. So with buy-to-let mortgage rates hitting 6%, it's over the coming 12 months or so that we're going to see, unfortunately, which investors didn't stress test at a high enough level. So challenging times ahead for some, opportunity ahead for others. Yeah, that's me done for this week. My little property finance video. Hey, I'm going to be back next week with another property finance video. So see you then. If you enjoyed watching this video, did you know every Monday morning at 8:30 I do a live Facebook Q&A. So if you want to start the week with checking out some answers to your property finance questions, click the link here.